Hello and welcome back to Marvelous Videos. If you're a fan of alien horror movies, this video is going to be an exciting ride. Have you ever thought about how these extraterrestrial creatures found their way into mainstream filmmaking? Well, it started way before Ridley Scott's monstrous creatures vandalized an entire spaceship. Actually, it was the 1951 black and white sci-fi horror, The Thing from Another World, which popularized hostile alien attacks on humanity and set the tone for the genre, be it the countless other sci-fi movies or John Carpenter's very own remake. One of the creepiest projects of all time, this movie still leaves room for cinephiles to speculate whether the Thing got away in the end and was actually a survivor. Let's take a look at what the fans have to say.
Intelligence. Look at me and know what I'm trying to tell you. I'm not your enemy. I'm a scientist. I'm a scientist who's trying...
What was The Thing from Another World about? Sometimes referred to simply as The Thing, this movie was based on John W. Campbell's 1938 novel, Who Goes There? Starring James Arness as The Thing, it was directed by Christian Nyby, a name often associated with controversies. Many believe producer Howard Hawks, an acclaimed filmmaker himself, should actually be credited for directing The Thing. The movie revolves around a crew of U.S. Air Force personnel along with some scientists who come across a crashed UFO during Polar Expedition 6 at the North Pole. They found the object buried under ice and accidentally destroyed it. Soon, their Geiger counter detected something, a body frozen in the Arctic ice. The team excavated the chunk of ice with the body inside and flew back to their base, completely unaware of the horrors about to unfold. No sooner did the ice thaw than a creature came out, killed 2 sled dogs, and escaped into a storm, but lost his right forearm in a fight with the airman. Upon researching the tissues from the wounded arm, the scientists concluded that the creature was an advanced form of a plant-based alien superior to humans. When the crew began a search, they found another sled dog killed and drained of blood, indicating the creature might have a vampiric nature. The airmen somehow managed to capture it in the greenhouse, but it broke out and attacked their quarters. After an intense fight, the creature was finally electrocuted and turned into a pile of ash. Though it's generally accepted that most people survived the 1951 movie, a cautionary message is to always watch the skies. At the end of journalist Ned Scott's broadcast is a sign that the threat might come back, or something even bigger might be on its way. However, in Carpenter's 1982 remake of The Thing from Another World, the ending is even more ambiguous. The creature, who is now a shape-shifting alien, invaded an American research outpost in Antarctica. Entering in the disguise of a sled dog, the entity soon transformed into a horrific creature that absorbed all the other sled dogs. It's then revealed that the alien can murder, assimilate, and impersonate all life forms on Earth. The crew is immediately turned against each other, suspecting infection, with members changing into the Thing version of themselves like Blair Thing, Norris Thing, Palmer. In the end, there are only 2 survivors, and questions loom if they are infected and whether the Thing has found another body to possess. Fans often link the survival of the Thing with the then-present political scenario of each film. In the 1951 movie, a military man, Captain Hendry, is seen taking charge of an apocalyptic situation and uniting against a common enemy, creature. This reflects the post-World War II confidence in authority and strong military leadership. The survival of so many characters depicts that endurance against any external threat is possible, no matter what the odds are. For instance, Scott's disclaimer not only hinted at an impending doom, but also reaffirmed faith in the system to tackle it. However, the 1982 film was set post-Vietnam War and Watergate scandal, when the US public was rapidly losing trust in the government. Thus, the movie showed that the enemy could have been anyone, which made defeating it nearly impossible, and this was proven by the unclear climax where the Thing might have survived. Moreover, the way both movies presented the role of science also raises doubts about the Thing's survival. While in the 1951 film, science is shown as the idealistic form of evolution which could overthrow the alien, the 1982 film shrouds it in fear and anxiety, where the scientists themselves become vessels for the alien and lose their minds. Some fans even relate the Thing to communism, which was seen as a virus spreading across Asia and Europe in the era of McCarthyism during the Cold War. On one hand, the terror of communist infiltration was absorbing countries, and on the other, the Thing was absorbing humanity. So while the first movie deals with how to fight an outside enemy, the latter is concerned with whether the enemy is a friend in disguise. Thus, the greater themes of war, changes in governmental regimes, and the spread of communism sowed the seeds for fan theories suggesting that the Thing might represent a political concept and it possibly metamorphosed into an untraceable threat. Background: the creature in The Thing from Another World. Campbell, in his story, has depicted the Thing as a 4-foot-tall telepathic creature with worm-like hair. It was frozen in ice for over 20 million years and weighs about 85 pounds. The Thing was described as having ugly blue skin, 3 hateful red eyes, and tentacles that oozed green blood. However, in the 1951 adaptation, the Thing originating from a crashed alien spacecraft has a hairless humanoid vegetative appearance similar to the Frankenstein monster. The military men even jokingly call it a monster from Mars. The Thing is depicted as an emotionless and merciless creature who's stronger than any human and is dedicated to just one goal: an alien colonization of Earth. It feeds on animal blood, and even its seedlings require blood to grow, as shown during Dr. Carrington's experiment. However, though unpopular, a theory suggests that perhaps the Thing only wanted to survive, converse with the people, and find a new spaceship to get back home. Maybe what we all saw was a reflection of the crew members' paranoia and misunderstanding. Whatever its mission might have been, both Nyby and Carpenter had their reasons to exhibit it differently on screen. Nyby's film only gave out blurry impressions of the alien's appearance. The audience could only see it faintly in frozen form or catch fleeting glimpses when it smashed through doors. Apart from these, all the viewers could catch hold of were a few glances of the Thing in the flames during its electrocution. The makers never released any official image of the alien and made sure it remained as a mysterious presence, leaving the audience craving more. However, upon re-release in 1954 and 57, Jim Arness could easily be recognized on the screen, satisfying audience curiosity. Some of his behind-the-scene pictures and makeup were also leaked, but the pictures were somewhat shady and lacked enough light, perpetuating the Thing's mystery in one way or another. In Carpenter's edition, the Thing emerges in a similar manner from an extraterrestrial wreckage site buried in ice. Fan theories and the 2011 prequel suggest various possibilities about the Thing's origin. Maybe the ship belonged to the Thing's own race, or it was a part of the ship's cargo, which was on a scientific expedition to collect specimens from various galaxies, and the Thing was taken from its own star system. There are some less popular hypotheses stating that the Thing traveled as a passenger in the spaceship or was a biological weapon operated by the ship. My favorite fan theory is that the Thing came to Earth as a stowaway. When the ship was visiting other planets, it might have picked up a thing or two. Nonetheless, the Thing appears as a malevolent force in the 1982 film, capable of shapeshifting and perfectly imitating any living being after killing them. Though not portrayed as having any definite shape, the creature takes on some truly grotesque forms in this movie. Apart from the Dog Thing, which is an alien form of a sled dog, the creature also possesses the geologist Norris, whose chest bursts open with a snake-like spider creature. Though its head looks somewhat like Norris, the sharp fangs provide a clear picture of the alien infection. The spider thing also grew 6 legs and scary eyes when its host's head fell off. It's incredible that it looks this upsetting without any CGI. Apart from this, the Blair thing, which was the possessed form of the biologist, was considerably larger, with huge jaws and an extra arm. It also had tentacles instead of legs, and a projecting dog thing coming out of its body. Oh, and how could we forget the split face? Even before the Americans figured out that they were being tormented by an otherworldly creature, they came across a twisted corpse with 2 faces merged together and the body split down through the middle. This was the Norwegian thing, or the 2-headed thing, later revealed to be the body of 2 researchers who were being assimilated by the Thing. But the process was interrupted for some reason, resulting in an incomplete takeover by the creature. The gruesome visual of Splitface haunts people even today. Its body was stretched unusually, with barely any fat left. The skin was grayish and the hands were like paws. The creature had several insect-like limbs, allowing it to walk on its toes. And that's a nasty sight. Though Carpenter and concept artist Mike Plug had scarier appearances in mind, like that of a werewolf or a lizard, they had to simplify it for technical constraints of the time period. Considering the Thing had one mission in both films, to multiply and spread their kind, their appearances and abilities were clearly different. While Nyby left it upon the viewer's imagination to personify the otherworldly horror, Carpenter painted some ghastly images on the screen to narrate his tale. Moreover, the 1951 Thing mainly relied on unbeatable strength rather than any shape-shifting powers. The Things also had different vulnerabilities in the 2 films, where the former could be destroyed by electricity, unlike the latter, which was destroyed by fire, theoretically. The ending. Did the creature really die? Though the 1951 film clearly depicts the destruction of the Thing via electrocution, its defeat in Carpenter's story is intentionally left ambiguous. The 1982 film follows a group of American researchers whose members were attacked and turned into their Thing versions one by one. When the crew was reduced to just 4 people, the power in their base went out, resulting in the hard decision to explode the entire station. However, in the end, only helicopter pilot MacReady and the chief mechanic Childs survive, with MacReady taking down the creature with a series of explosions. He then finds Childs, who had gone missing a little while earlier, and the 2 men share a drink, each suspecting the other of being infected, and that's how the film ends. While they sit there, waiting to die, surrounded by flames in the icy weather of Antarctica, probably one of them knows that the Thing has not actually been destroyed, and it gives a hint to the viewers that they're just going to sit there and wait until one of them dies at the hands of the creature, or they both die of cold. This climax was, unsurprisingly, highly controversial, and it gave rise to lots of speculation about the Thing's survival. Unlike the audiences of the 1951 film, who, irrespective of possible alien invasions in the future, believed that the Thing was defeated, the viewers of Carpenter's film were not convinced that it was ultimately killed, and they had every reason not to. In fact, Carpenter himself wasn't sure about the film's ending. He even shot alternate versions, one where MacReady is alone and waiting for death in the camp, and one where he's rescued and a blood test proves he's not infected. However, he didn't even show these optional endings to test audiences because Carpenter believed that the movie was apocalyptic in nature and there was no point in offering a hopeful ending. He claims in many interviews that he knows whether MacReady or Childs is the Thing, but he'll never reveal which. It's possible that even Carpenter isn't actually sure which one is the Thing in the end, as he stated in his director's commentary in the 90s that he couldn't decide if Childs was the creature or not. Kurt Russell, who played MacReady, supported him by saying there was no way of ever finding out who was the Thing among the two. To be honest, Carpenter's definitive answer after all these years disappointed some of the fans, who have left no stone unturned trying to figure out who was the Thing and when. Open-ended movies allow fans to interpret multiple endings, and a confirmed answer may dissatisfy many, as we saw with the 1982 sci-fi classic Blade Runner, where some fans were unhappy to receive an absolute answer that Deckard was indeed a replicant. Speculation is the key that keeps such movies alive for decades, and Carpenter knew that very well. There are spin-offs, like a 2002 video game that shows Childs frozen to death while MacReady is being rescued by the player, or the Thing from Another World comic series by Dark Horse, which depicts both men as human in the end, but none of these spin-offs have been approved by Carpenter as canon. The cliffhanger ending was a conscious choice of the filmmakers to highlight the paranoia and distrust that marked the thematic setting of the film. The scene's intention was to let the audience decide who was the Thing themselves. MacReady's last line, "Why don't we just wait here for a little while, see what happens," only affirms the maker's intention of arousing viewers' thoughts. Fan theory: the Thing as a survivor. Among the popular fan theories, there are 3 distinct possibilities. One, that both MacReady and Childs are human till the end, and the Thing might have been killed or might have taken over another life form, as shown in Sidney Sheinberg's TV version of the Thing, where the creature survives as a dog. 2, the creature infected Childs and MacReady is unaware of it. 3, MacReady became the Thing and will now bring about Childs' imminent death. However, the first possibility seems far-fetched because several hypotheses point at the Thing's survival as an infected form of either of the two. The most popular theory is that Childs is the new Thing, supported by his unexplained disappearance towards the end of the movie. Moreover, the room looks different after the camera cuts back and we see Childs, which might be a sign of struggle or just a continuity error. Who knows? Even cinematographer Dean Cundy has fueled this theory by saying that one can see a light in MacReady's eyes in the end, but Childs' eyes are blank, proving he's an imitation. The theory goes, MacReady already knew Childs was infected and offered him gasoline instead of liquor. Though the group made it clear to prepare their own food and drinks since the Thing was contagious, Childs drank it casually, meaning he was probably already corrupted. MacReady laughs at this, proving that he is sure that Childs is an imitation. An interesting claim is that Childs was not breathing in the last scene, marking him as the Thing's new form. This speculation was reinforced by the poor quality of the VHS and DVDs back then. Moreover, the fact that a person of color survived to the end of a studio horror movie in that era might have triggered the audience to question his nature, given it was something of a rarity back. The other interpretation is that MacReady is the Thing, and while it might sound a bit far-fetched, hear me out. It's often believed that MacReady was turned long before the final scenes when he shared a bottle with the meteorologist Bennings, who was already licked by the dog Thing and converted. Thus, the saliva from the bottle eventually transformed MacReady too, a possibility popularly referred to as the bottle theory by fans. This is sometimes confirmed by MacReady's shredded clothes in the snow, since when the thing assimilates a body, the violent reaction could cause wear and tear of clothing. In our opinion, it wasn't just the clothes. MacReady's survival in the gusty storm of Antarctica after being cut loose from the team on suspicion of being infected and his subsequent return with the flamethrower right when Norris was turning is much stronger proof of his infection. Moreover, when a blood test was being organized to check the team member's humanity, MacReady could have switched his blood sample with a clean one to avoid being caught. The scene also just shows a petri dish with his name, not directly showing us how MacReady gave his blood. The conspiracy gets wilder if we think about MacReady and Blair Thing's confrontation. When he had to face Blair Thing alone, how was it possible for MacReady to defeat it if he had no supernatural strength? A little bit of food for thought, huh? Yet another assumption is that MacReady infected and converted the cook, Knowles, who intentionally complained about the former's torn clothes and how he might be contaminated. Probably both of them were a thing and were working together on a larger goal, and MacReady managed to fake another blood sample. I mean, if he could do one, why not two? Knowles' absence during the climax remains a mystery and further fuels this notion. Lastly, MacReady seemed like a hero with his plan to burn down the entire station, but we all know that he himself stated that the thing wants to be frozen and rescued later. That leaves us with the possibility that MacReady intentionally blows up the station to make sure this happens and also contaminates the bottle before passing it to Childs, guaranteeing his transformation. All he had to do now was wait and freeze in the cold until someone discovered the thing versions of them both. So whether Childs or MacReady was the thing in the end, or it managed to escape and imitate some other being, one thing is clear: the thing survives. Nothing could take it down, and it kept changing bodies to deceive everyone. Debates and interpretations. Though the viewers are absolutely sure that the thing managed to survive by assimilating either Childs' or MacReady's body, there are counter-debates to these conjectures. While it is widely accepted that Childs is the thing at the end of Carpenter's movie, there is enough evidence proving otherwise. Firstly, given that Childs is an imitation and MacReady offers him gasoline instead of booze, he would have immediately tasted it, since an alien imitation is a perfect copy of the host right down to the taste buds. This also refutes the claim that Childs was not seen breathing at the end because he was a version of the thing, as there was no reason for the creature to change Childs' biology and make his lungs non-functional. Keith David, the actor cast as Childs, claimed that his character was not the thing, and the audience could not see steam coming out of his mouth because of the extreme heat generated after the station's explosion. Moreover, Blu-ray and HD videos with better picture quality depicted that Childs was breathing in the finale, which was blurry due to the lighting. As far as the gasoline theory goes, Russell snubbed it by saying that Carpenter and him wanted the viewers to understand that even they didn't know who the thing was and were in the same boat with the audience. Carpenter has even dismissed Cundy's observation about the missing glimmer in Childs' eye, saying his work was just to set up lights, nothing more. In MacReady's case, the arguments stating that he's not the thing aren't that strong, but somehow substantial. Given that he is the main protagonist and played by none other than Kurt Russell, there's barely any chance for him to become an alien in the end. Moreover, he allegedly passed the blood test, proving that he's not infected. This is further established by his survival in spin-offs, video games, and comic series, as discussed earlier. Maybe even his story about his clothes was true. Maybe someone did borrow the jacket and it ripped. Hard to say. Comparative Analysis. Survival in later adaptations. The Thing from 1982 got a prequel after almost 30 years. Directed by Mathis van Henningen Jr. in 2011, this adaptation ends where Carpenter began his journey. The end credits of the film show a Norwegian helicopter pilot looking for survivors in the ruins with glimpses of Splitface. Ideally, it sets the stage for MacReady and crew to enter the scene. Though there is barely any connection between the prequel and the 1982 film, except for its final scenes, fans have managed to dig out a subtle detail that might confirm that Childs was not assimilated by the Thing back then. The 2011 movie established that the creature cannot mimic inorganic matter, and thus it could not have imitated Childs' earring if he was converted during the finale. However, this fact remains highly speculative. Nonetheless, the fate of the protagonist in the 2011 film is similar to its predecessor. Like MacReady and Childs, the paleontologist, Kate Lloyd's survival hangs by a thread. Whether or not Kate survives in the snowy landscape is left to the audience. However, the Thing mimics a sled dog, the same sled dog that would infect Carpenter's group of researchers. The Thing's connection to Annihilation. A little bizarre, but many fans believe that the alien from Annihilation was sent to Earth to defeat the Thing. This actually reaffirms the theory that the Thing ultimately survived at the end of Carpenter's narrative, necessitating its elimination. This 2018 sci-fi film is considered a secret sequel to the 1982 Thing, and it's given rise to theories that the extraterrestrial entity in the movie, Shimmer, came to Earth with a mission to finish off the shape-shifting Thing. Shimmer's ability to cause DNA mutations upon exposure to it and form new entities gives all the more reason to think he would be perfect for combating the Thing, which itself absorbs DNA to imitate other living beings. However, there are gaps in this theory. Shimmer is shown to have indeed been on Earth due to a meteor crash. If it was actually sent on an assignment, then his arrival should have been intended and not accidental. Moreover, in the end, Shimmer supposedly lives on within the other characters instead of traveling back, raising questions about its intentions. Despite these loopholes, the connection between the Thing and Annihilation does make for an exciting idea. Marvelous verdict! Okay folks, it's time to wrap up. Whether the Thing intended on a galactic plague or not is up for debate, but one thing is for sure. It did survive the 1982 climax. Be it MacReady or Childs, or any other living organism for that matter, the Thing did imitate someone and lived on. This isn't just what fans believe either, it actually has numerous supporting arguments. However, which of the two survivors was possessed, or if both of them were mimicked by the Thing, sparks several theories, each with its own set of pros and cons. To quote MacReady, we'll have to wait and watch. Perhaps we'll get an answer someday, perhaps we'll never know, but that's the beauty of it. We'll always keep wondering about the Thing. Let us know your favorite theory in the comments down below, and we'll catch you in the next one. In the meantime, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.